Hello, Bryan Colter here, Evolutionary Astrologer, for another horoscope report for the upcoming Aquarius full moon that happens on August 1st. This is an important event because this is the first full moon since the nodes of the moon changed signs into Aries and Libra. So we got a lot to talk about. Before we dive into that, just a quick heads up. I'm recording this on Friday and on Sunday. And in fact, every Sunday, I host a live guided meditation on Zoom. It's free to join, where we do Twin Hearts meditation for world peace together. And if you're interested, I'll put a link below in the show description, and I'll also pin the link at the top of the comment section so it's easy to find. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the chart. So as you can see here, we have this beautiful Aquarius full moon, but that's not where I want to start. First, let's discuss the biggest event of this year, at least one of them, which is the nodes of the moon changing signs. They changed a few weeks ago into Libra and Aries, and I talked a lot about this in the last video, and I won't repeat all that. This will be more the Cliff Notes version. But every 18 and a half months, these nodes change signs. And it's a major energetic shift amongst the collective, where we, as a group, are trying to grow beyond the negative energetic charge of this Libra South node, and instead embrace this Aries North node in a more evolved way to counterbalance some of the negative excesses of the Libra archetype. Now, Libra, as well as all the signs of the zodiac, have a high-end expression and a low-end expression. High consciousness, low consciousness. Light side of the force, dark side of the force. Love and light and unity, and ego and fear and separation. So this South Node being so compelling, trying to pull us down into the doldrums of the dark side of Libra, which I'll describe in a second. Whereas the North Node doesn't have a pull. It's just nothing but a good idea, so it's hard to reach, but it is that counterbalance. So if we can put a lot of our focus on an individual level, but what's trying to happen amongst the sea of people is we're trying to manifest that high expression of Aries, which is the warrior. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but I also want to say, across the 18 and a half month period of time, we'll find specific pockets of intensity where these nodes are more active than some of the other months. And we're really starting off with a bang here, because as the North Node entered into Aries, it simultaneously formed a conjunction, meaning a fusion or right next to, the planetoid Eris. Okay, here, this is the symbol for Eris. And they're coming very close to each other. It's called an applying conjunction. And they're heavily activated here. So we'll have to tie in the meaning of Eris too. And then right after that, it's not quite active yet, in my opinion, it'll form a conjunction with Chiron. So really the first few months of the North Node's entrance into Aries is one of those periods of intensity. That's what I mean by starting off with a bang. One way of looking at these nodes is it's the collective karma that has ripened. So here we are trying to grow beyond the shadowy expression of Libra. Now, the dark side of Libra is a sign that's susceptible to passive-aggressive behavior and indecision. This kind of waffling energy is one of the tripping hazards of the Libra archetypal field. And we'll see more of that passivity and that spineless energy of Libra more amongst the collective, at least above average, functioning as that stumbling block that we're trying to turn into a stepping stone towards this higher-end expression of Aries. Now, the high-end expression of the symbol, the warrior, the pioneer, the daredevil, Aries, is that of bravery and willpower and fortitude and courage, decisiveness. It's the planet of action. So the natural remedy or antidote to the indecisive energy or passive-aggressive energy of Libra is to take action when needed, especially when we're up against some enemy, like the warrior is, or perceived enemy, to function more from not the egoic, destructive side of the warrior, which is certainly a part of that archetypal field, but more towards that loving, protective quality of the warrior. So over the next 18 months, we're going to have plenty of opportunity to take action to protect the weak and defenseless, and also to lead by example, because warriors can make great leaders as well. Lead by example to help others develop the courage within themselves to take action too. It's also important to point out that the energetic makeup of each individual will affect this process as well. So for example, if somebody in their own personal chart has a lot of that more passive energy as a theme in their own chart, in their own psyche, this will be a particularly difficult period of time over the next 18 months, where we get more of that waffling energy of indecision, where we can get trapped in a stasis of fear of doing the wrong thing, or, trying to be nice instead of truthful. Honesty and kindness are both wonderful virtues, but they also might exist in tension with each other. And with this polarity of Libra-Aries axis so dominant over the next 18 months, that juxtaposition of energy, that tension is going to be quite obvious. Conversely, people in their own personal chart who are just fireballs, that do have this more fiery expression in their own chart of the warrior, then it will be a little easier for them to access this north node than the average bear. But this will be a particularly frustrating period of time that we're entering into, as these people will observe others as being overly passive when it's not really appropriate in that situation. But in that case, the challenge would be, can that warrior, even though they're feeling the frustration, still come from that high consciousness place of unity, where the recognition that we're all brothers and sisters, we all come from the same place, unity consciousness, we are all immortal souls having this human experience. How amazing is that? But the challenge would be to forget that, and to get more into this negative expression of the warrior, which is about anger and rage and frustration, which can lead to more destructiveness in the world. And this starts off so strong, the importance of this Aries, because as I said, it is conjunct Eris. Now, the goddess of Eris is actually Greek. And most of the archetypes in astrology are Roman gods. And the Roman actually has a goddess that's an equivalent to Eris, and the goddess is named Discordia, which is kind of a fun name. And then I've heard some people talk about Moloch recently. That's becoming quite popular out there, which would represent the same set of energies as Eris, as Discordia. They go by many different names. It depends on the culture, but all cultures around the world, especially who have strong roots in mysticism, can really tap into and feel these archetypes, these elemental forces that affect the collective, affect humanity for better or for worse. But let's start off a little bit with the mythology of Eris. This is how the story goes. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite and all the Olympians were invited to a wedding. But Eris was not. She was the outsider. She was not invited because she was seen as a troublemaker. And she was very angry about this. And in revenge, she tossed a golden apple, the apple of discord, into the wedding scene. And on the golden apple was written, "For the fairest one," or "for the most beautiful one." And this provoked the goddesses within the wedding to get into this big fight over the golden apple and who should receive the golden apple. Which one of them was the prettiest? Now, Paris was appointed by Zeus to select the winner of this golden apple. And then all the goddesses stripped naked before Paris. And Athena, she promised Paris wisdom. Hera offered him political power. And Aphrodite tempted him with the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen. Of course, Paris chose Helen and Aphrodite, and thereby dooming his city, which was destroyed by Troy because he captured or kidnapped Helen. We know how that rest of that story goes. Now, this mythology here, this is a horrible tale, okay, but underlying it is the theme of competition. This is Eris, especially when it's in the sign of Aries, okay? Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is said to be the brother of Eris. So Eris is particularly strong in the sign, really putting a focal point on it with Chiron and the North Node next to it. So this references the theme of competition, okay? And of course, competition can be very ugly. We're seeing that in a lot of different places in the world. But it doesn't have to be. It's not the high-end expression. And this is really the lifeblood of this approach to astrology, evolutionary astrology, where we really describe the polarity between light and dark. Okay, here's the low end, the more destructive side of competition that manifests this survival of the fittest, this dog-eat-dog world, which leads people because of greed and power and the attachments of this world and because of ego, leads to some catastrophes. But we can always get it right. Every front has a back. The dark side, again, is obvious. And Discordia, or Eris, of course she likes to win. But she doesn't like to win as much as she likes to see you lose. That's just the energy of it, as she delights in somebody else's misery. Discordia, or Moloch, of course, can bring about great evil and destruction in the world. And whenever a planet or planetoid is discovered, this was discovered in 2005, that idea, that archetypal matrix or energetic field of potentials becomes prominent within the collective, and particularly emphasize the darker side, okay? It's like we're trying to figure this thing out, especially now with the nodes touching it. And since 2005, we can really see the dark side of competition in the limelight as we rape and pillage the earth and become undertakers of its resources instead of caretakers of its essence. And then we see the dark side of competition in, you name it, the tech industry, the medical industry, where some of these companies will cut corners, just to get ahead of the competition. And some of these industries really need a lot more regulation because of that. Of course, the tech and medical industries do great good in the world as well, but, we're really talking about the dark side here. Of course, there is a higher ground, as with all these symbols. And the higher ground of Discordia is far kinder. So here we find this more energizing component of Discordia in the sign of Aries, okay, which can push or drive or motivate, let's say, for example, the lazy man to work. That's the metaphor. This is the motivational force of comparison. Now, envy is, of course, one of the 7 deadly sins. Of course, we don't want to be dwelling there. But of course, the envy of others can also motivate and inspire somebody to achieve what the other has, for example. Instead of that more dark comparative quality where we're trying to one-up or better them, no matter how destructive that may be. We can also use this as a sort of inspirational, expansive energy towards our own betterment and evolution. And if done with an honoring of others, of the collective, from unity consciousness instead of through the illusion of separation, this can lead to innovation and decisions that will impact the collective in a very positive way. And this energy and drive of evolution of the collective can go in more positive directions instead of the destructive side. So that's the healthy expression of this. And with North Node in Aries, the warrior, us wanting to aim that action and that courage and that bravery and that focus and that indomitable willpower towards, okay, how can I do my part to, through action and my own courage, move forward, okay, towards the betterment and evolution of the collective by being more innovative within it and allowing others that might be in my field or something I'm interested in that might be the top of that expression, the top 0.1 of 1% of that capability of whatever that thing is. And instead of looking at that as a threat, allow that to be inspiration along your path or a guiding light. How does the Aquarian full moon tie into this? Well, this Aries North Node conjunct Eris is more big picture stuff. This is over the rest of the year and even into next year. The core evolutionary intention, at least one of them. And now we look more in the micro. In the near future, the first half of August, how does Aquarius tie into this? How over the next couple weeks can I lean into this sign of the rebel, the revolutionary, the genius, classically known as the water bearer? And the water bearer pours out wisdom for the collective. You know, Aquarius is a very complex symbol because on one level, it represents individualistic expression of self. That's the more genius archetype, where we all have a genius within us to share. But then that genius will do its part to benefit the collective. So there is this more tribal component with Aquarius, especially through its affinity with the 11th house. Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. So it is about the collective, but it's also about the individual and how they tie in together. So let's say there's some survivalist tribe of people living off in the middle of nowhere, completely shut off from society, just existing within their own little bubble. Well, if that tribe doesn't have a dentist, and then somebody gets an abscessed tooth, well, that person is doomed unless somebody within the collective has that gift to share of, in this example, dentistry. So with the full moon in Aquarius, the evolutionary question is there a unique part of myself that I can share, fully reflecting the light of the sun, in a way that's coming from love and light instead of competitive comparison? And how can I face my fears to evoke courage, which is the warrior archetype of Aries, let's say mantra or affirmation? Face my fears, be more vulnerable with what my creative gifts are, the uniqueness within me. What is my dharma? What is my path? And how can I share that in a way that's more honest and direct, Aries, instead of being more passive, falling into the trap of Libra, of passivity, of not sharing. And this is really the core of the lesson here. I'll also say that we have this very strong aspect between Saturn in Pisces in retrograde, opposed Mercury in Virgo. It's a dead opposition, near exact. And Saturn is one of the planets that rules Aquarius, so it's a key focalizer anyways. Some of the challenges of Saturn in Pisces, just on a more worldly level, is the confusion between what is real, Saturn, which is very dense of this dimension. It's the most like the planet of realism, if you will. What is practical, what is tangible, what is down to earth. Whereas Pisces has a more illusory quality to it, potentially. So confusion between what is real and what is not, becoming a major learning curve really over the next couple of years. I talked about this back in March, I think, when Saturn first entered Pisces. So that's more on a collective level. And of course, we're seeing this with AI development, making it more and more difficult to tell the difference between what is illusion, what is fake, and what is a fabrication and not. You know, with AI face filters and deep fake videos, it's going to be very challenging. Challenging aspect of Mercury in Virgo. Mercury is very strong in Virgo because it's the planet that rules Virgo. But one of the challenges of this placement can be just too much mental activity on one level, But we're generalizing here, obviously. which I have to do to a certain degree in these videos. But what about on a more personal level? How can we work positively with Saturn in Pisces opposed Mercury in Virgo? Well, Saturn, the Lord of Solitude, in the sign of the mystic, the sign of ether, it's a very spiritual sign, Pisces is. So to leverage Saturnian solitude towards one's own spiritual development is one of the most powerful ways to work with Saturn in Pisces, especially with Neptune in Pisces, big subject, but the major evolutionary task for Neptune in Pisces is about growing closer to God, basically. And this theme is only going to get stronger as Saturn continues to inch its way forward until they finally meet up many months in the future. Now, Saturn, whatever it's touching in the chart, wants you to work hard there. It's a very demanding energy. Okay? So rolling up one's sleeve and disciplining oneself to, for example, meditate every day. And Saturn, the planet of commitment, is best when we leverage the law of repetition and consistency with whatever we're talking about with Saturn. In the case of Pisces the mystic, continually, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes a day, doing your spiritual work or meditative work, whatever that means for you. The Taoist mystics from China, some of the most hardcore mystics on the planet, they teach that for every 1 day of meditation practice that you miss, you lose 10 days of progress. And they also say it's better to practice 5 minutes every day than to practice for 90 minutes once a week or 30 minutes every other day. And this wisdom is very Saturn and Pisces wisdom. So it's like, okay, Saturn, what can I commit to in my spiritual life on the daily? This is the most powerful way of working with this symbol. Now, in regards to the opposition, now opposition's a tension-based aspect. It's a challenging aspect. So the Lord of Solitude in the sign of the mystic, the idea that it's very conducive for mountaintop time to do that spiritual work. What can get in the way is that Mercury in Virgo, the overactive mind, the mind chatter. Mercury is the planet of intelligence, of the mind and thoughts and speaking and writing. And here it is in the sign of Virgo, the Virgin, which has nothing to do with sexuality, but historically, virginity was seen as this exalted state of purity. So Virgo, therefore, is the symbol of purity, the motivation to be pure, to be impeccable, to be perfect. So it's the perfectionist archetype, the comparison of the actual and the ideal. So above average amongst the collective, okay, people will have overactive minds, and the high attention to detail will be accentuated here. Certainly in the external environment, which might manifest as a sort of judgmental quality, okay, projected into the external environment. That'll happen a lot. But then also internally. Here is what I am, here is what I should be. Mercury, the planet of thoughts, aimed more in that negative self-judgment direction. That's on the negative side of this planet, which can be a challenge now. And the overactive monkey mind will, of course, have a challenging relationship to that mountaintop time, the Lord of Solitude in the sign of mystic, the hard work of spiritual development, the thought streams potentially getting in the way of that. A powerful meditative practice during this time is developing more awareness about your own negative thoughts in meditative states. And that's the guided meditation we'll do at the end. I've shared it on this channel before. It's perfect for this event where we analyze some of the habitual thoughts that we have and seek to change that. Not only dissolve the judgmental thoughts because they're no longer serving our growth and evolution, but then also simultaneously empower the positive thoughts that we'd like to create deeper grooves in our neural net, if you will, in that more positive direction, and then take away the power of the negative ones, and then implementing that into a meditation practice is a very powerful way of working with this. So ironing out the wrinkles of the mind towards spiritual growth. Also meditation practices that involve mind training. That can be meditations of concentration and observation and one-pointedness. These are all greatly beneficial now. So this is, another component of this set of energies here in the sky, how that's affecting us. And of course, the more we spiritually evolve, the more we come from this higher level of consciousness, and then the easier it will be to express this more positive expression of the warrior, of the revolutionary. And you can plug and play these archetypal names to create this meta-archetype. The evolutionary intention in August to become the rebel warrior, okay? To be more rebellious against the, let's say, agreed upon wisdom of the collective, the mainstream perspective, what the sea of people believe. Say, oh, I might not believe this. I'm going to develop confidence, warrior-like confidence in how I am different, and then develop a certain level of comfort for my own genius and allow myself to express that without the thought stream or attachment of how you expect others to react to what it is you express. You're coming from that place of, I am who I am. If you like me, that's great. If not, that's interesting. Or we have the genius pioneer, So again, we can plug and play with these symbols, but you get the point. This is a fiery, individualistic, freedom set of energies. These are energies that are inviting us to work with them integratively in this co-creative process with the divine. These are the evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Now again, we're going to transition into the meditation now. I recommend using headphones for best results. Enjoy. Sit in a nice, comfortable position and take care that your spine is straight. And we'll begin by focusing on the breath. And just slowly breathe all the way down into your belly, and then feel your lungs expand. And slowly exhale. And make the in-breath and the out-breath either a 4 or a 6 count, whatever you're comfortable with. Deep, comfortable breathing. This really helps to relax us and connect deeply to our energy field. And just feel the tissues of your body expand as you inhale. Now add a visualization to it and visualize a white etheric vitality coming into your lungs with the oxygen and then spreading throughout your entire body. And with each exhale, the air goes out but the energy stays in. And continue this breath technique and visualization for a bit longer, and then I'll come back. Okay, now we're going to start chanting together. And these sacred words bring about a very specific vibration within you. And I want you to Do a nice big inhale, and then we'll begin. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 And inhale, nice deep breath. Hold the breath. Feel the vibration in your body. And then slowly exhale. And be very aware of the energetic shifts that you feel within your energy body. It's a very sacred mantra, powerful. And now bring your conscious awareness up into your head and visualize a white gold sun in your head, your entire headspace. A fiery white gold sun. This is the center of your mental body. And with each inhale, see the white gold sun grow brighter and brighter. And as you exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And maintain this visualization for a bit longer, and then I'll come back. I want you to bring to mind a person, or maybe a collection of people, towards whom you've had some bitterness, or maybe some people who have had some hostility towards you. And this visualization is a time for reconciliation, so it's important not to feel any anger. And with every out-breath, let go of any bad feelings that arise within you until you feel peace. It was not they who hurt you. No one can ever hurt you. No one at all. Your soul is incorruptible, ineffable life light. And words, however hateful they may be, can never hurt you. You can only hurt yourself by accepting their energy and reacting to the abuse. And see these people in front of you, taunting you, swearing at you, insulting you, or maybe raising a hand. And your reaction to this is to simply smile. Smile with peace and understanding in your heart and mind. In other circumstances, you might be quick to anger, but in this moment, you understand the fruitlessness of an ill temper. Peter once came to Jesus and said, "Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? 7 times? And Jesus said to him, "Not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Always, in other words. The feeling of being wounded or offended is self-punishing. The desire to be apologized to is an expression of a subtle egoism. And Jesus also taught that to hate those who love you is devilish. To love those who love you is human, and to love those who hate you is divine. And visualize their faces again. And now they are disarmed by your state of peace. They've even forgotten why they were angered in the first place. And see these people who, like you, are soul incarnate. See these people with love. And it's difficult now to understand how it's possible to see any other person as an enemy, as we all share a common effort to grow. They are your brothers and sisters, fellow self-aware souls. Whatever society we live in, no matter the trouble currently besetting the community, let us not have enemies. Let us not be unnerved by anything that anyone says or does to us. Let us sow peace and thereby setting examples. And before we end this meditation, plant a seed in your subconscious mind, the seed that I will think before I act. And if you continue to plant and nurture that seed, it will grow and become ingrained. The next time you're in a situation where you feel anger arising, or you want to react harshly, just pause for a moment and recall this meditation, and it will help you to pivot. It will help you to consciously choose a different way. Now focus on your entire body and feel that you're in your entire body from head to toe. And visualize your body in a glowing whitish blue light. A star being shining brightly in all directions. And thank you for the light that you carry.